Hi there. Today I'm having a look at one of the all-time classic pocket knives, the Victorinox Swiss Army Classic SD. Almost everyone will have seen one of these, and they're pretty easy to get hold of because the airline security people seem to be collecting them by the bucketful. But what have we actually got here? Well, we've essentially got a small multi-tool with, according to Victorinox, 7 different tools on it. There's a knife, which you can see up here. There's a nail file, which has got a small screwdriver blade at the end of it. There's some scissors, which you can see on this one here. There's a pair of tweezers at this end. There are the tweezers there. And on the other side, there's a toothpick, which I suspect most people use a fraction of the amount that they use the tweezers. And finally, there's a key ring. So according to Victorinox, that totals 7 tools. They're made of stainless steel, fairly soft stainless steel for the knife blade, and most of them come in what they call Celador scales. That's this plastic here. Apparently other people call it ABS, but the sort that Victorinox uses an organothermoplastic, which is actually 45% cellulose, which of course is made from wood. So it's relatively green for a plastic type product. They're pretty inexpensive. You can pick them up in the States. The recommended retail is about $35. But they're for sale almost everywhere, places like theknifecenter.com for between 15 and 17. In New Zealand dollars, they're sort of between 28 and 40. They come in a vast variety of colours, and you can also get them in an aluminium scales version, which I guess is a little bit classier. It makes it slightly heavier, and they tend to obviously aluminium scuffs up. But if you wanted to, you could get one to match almost any outfit in any colour and a variety of patterns. I guess that it's probably the most popular pocket knife in the world. Few size specs: 22 grams, which is pretty light. It's 9mm thick and 58mm closed. The blade length is not very long at all, 3.5 centimetres or 35mm. Few size comparisons. Here's a Leatherman P4 squirt. So you can see that it's almost exactly the same size, almost exactly the same length as the Leatherman, but it's about half the thickness and probably about a third of the width, and it's definitely a lot lighter. If you're talking about knives, here's something at the other end of the scale. It's an Ontario Rat number 1, so a completely different size blade, obviously. And for your small blades, here's a Jettison 6120, sorry. So that's the small titanium scaled Jettison, not the larger one. But again, it makes the Victorinox Classic look tiny. So I think you can pretty clearly see that the main advantage of these things is not the knife. So what is good here? Well, the main thing is that it's light. It's really light, and so almost anyone ought to be able to find a place for this, even if you're wearing very light summer shorts, or if you're a woman or a man who doesn't like pockets, tend to be women. Even in the smallest of clutches that you might be taking to something fancy, I'd hazard a guess that there were quite a few women on the red carpet or at the opera, whatever, who'd have something like this in their purse or clutch, because you just really don't notice it. It's also a very smooth, nice, easy shape to just have loose in your pocket. Lots of people actually have these on a keychain, but I prefer to just carry it in my pocket because it's really nice and smooth. Unlike something like the Jettison, where you've got, as Nick Shabazz would say, a little pocket pecker going on here. which is really quite sharp, and there are a number of other fairly sharp edges. With the Classic, it's all nice and smooth, and there really isn't anything to dig into other bits and pieces. Obviously, if the metal bangs up against an unprotected phone screen or something, you're going to get a bit of damage, but that's true of coins or anything else. The other thing here is that these are completely non-scary. Unlike someone, for instance, bringing out something like the Rat and flicking it open at a lunch table, if you brought out something like a Classic and made some very small cut, perhaps cut a banana in half, no one's really going to see that as a weapon. The other thing, of course, is that the colour helps here. These are, although you can get them in black, by far the most popular colour is red, and they really don't cause anyone any problem. The other thing I really like about them is that apart from the toothpick, there is actually a really good mix of tools here. There's just enough to be useful. The knife, although it's not fancy steel by any means, but you can get a reasonable edge on it, and it's easy to sharpen. So if you're new to the knife game, then it's pretty simple to get a good edge on these, at least good enough to cut most things. The scissors are, unlike a lot of multi-tool scissors, actually good enough to cut bits of thread or particularly something fine, a small piece of material or a bit of paper. So they, although you wouldn't want to do any serious cutting with them, they are actually quite functional. The blade is reasonable, but nothing too fancy. The nail file is really good just for filing nails. A lot of people find that they actually get a lot of use out of the little driver, either for scraping or just for doing up things like a tiny little screw in your sunglasses, or on a laptop or some other electronic device. It's surprising how often this fits. So what's not so good here? Well, I guess most of the things that make this good are also likely to make it not so good. Obviously, the blade is small, it's flexible, you're not going to be able to do any serious cutting with it, and because it doesn't lock at all, this is just spring held here with spring tension. If you attempted to do anything too hard, it's liable to come back and flick on your fingers. So it's obviously not designed for serious cutting. But it is surprisingly useful for something like opening an envelope. If we just show here, it's if you get a pile of envelopes, having one of those makes it so much easier to open a great pile of them. The files, as I said, only any good for fingernails. You're not going to be able to do any useful filing on metal or wood. I've never ever actually seen anyone in my life use the toothpick, but who knows, maybe if you buy it brand new and particularly favour toothpicks, someone will find a use for it. For the knife nuts, this is obviously pinned together, so you can't take it apart and clean it, but given that it's stainless steel and either aluminium or the Salador, it's pretty easy to honestly just put it in the washing up and give it a bit of a scrub, and then put a small drop of oil on either end. You don't usually see these covered in rust, so they're pretty simple to maintain. One of the problems that I've seen in a few reviews is, and it doesn't bother me because I don't keep it on a keychain, if you do keep these on a keychain, obviously you'll find that the knife blade is actually at the wrong end, because if you've got a whole heap of keys dangling off here and you try to do some cutting, it's a complete mess, because you've got to make a lot of effort to try and keep the keys out of the way so that you can actually bear down and make a cut. That doesn't bother me. I keep these in my pocket and I take the keychain off, so it's not really a problem. So what's the overall conclusion? What do I reckon here? As I said, they're often referred to as a keychain tool, but that's not how I recommend you use these things. It's generally not a good idea, particularly if it's a set of car keys, to have a whole lot of things hanging off the end of your car key. There have been a number of cases where that's caused the ignition to jam and get you into expensive repairs. And I just don't see the advantage in having a great big set of jangling keys. It just makes you look like a janitor or a jailer. These take up so little space, and they feel so inconsequential in your pocket that I think you're better off just having it loose in your pocket. I guess one of the other things you have to watch out for, particularly if you keep it on your keychain, is that you will lose it at an airport. It's not just the blade. Most airlines these days object to the scissors as well. It seems a little bit bizarre that you could really have someone hold up an airline with scissors, but they managed it with box cutters. So who knows? It's not really my department, but yeah, you've got to make sure that if you have it on a keychain, you take it off and either leave it in the car or at home, or put it in your stowable baggage, because if you have it on you or in your carry-on, you're going to lose it. The tweezers are surprisingly useful. People often overlook the tweezers, but they're actually quite useful for a variety of things, like getting a splinter out of your finger, or if you've got if you're ever in a situation where you're you have children or grandkids or anything else. It's surprising how often having a set of decent tweezers around to remove a splinter or a bee sting's really useful. So in summary, I think that almost everyone should get one of these. If you can afford $20 or $30 on a multi-tool, then something along these lines is probably the best compromise, at least as a starting point. However, I think you do have to put a little bit of effort into checking out exactly what tools will suit you and your lifestyle. I don't actually carry the Classic. I carry one of the others, which I'll review in another video. It's just fractionally larger, the one that I prefer, and it just has one or two extra tools, but they really do make a difference. You can get them with pens and all manner of different extra tools, and of course the Swiss Army knife people make a vast range of larger tools, but they don't have the advantage that these things do, which is just disappearing into your pocket. So in summary, I think they're an excellent thing that almost everyone should find a place for in their pocket, whether you call it part of your EDC or just something that you shouldn't leave home without. I'd definitely go ahead and pick one up. Thanks very much. If you found this useful, please feel free to like the video and subscribe, and see you again next time. Cheers.